All right, let's talk about how you can increase your chances of winning in property and reduce your chances of losing big time. You see, my clients and myself over the last couple of years have been generating capital gains that many people probably wouldn't believe if I shared it with them. But in my last newsletter, I just put a few examples of how some savvy individuals put down relatively small amounts of money, sort of maybe 80, 100,000, in many cases only 15 or $20,000 with a deposit bond, and have made hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital gains, in potential capital gains, because it ain't over till the fat lady sings. However, that being said, there's a good reason why, in fact, just over the last 6 or 7 months, some of my clients have enjoyed 200,000 or 300,000 in capital gains. Let me explain why this is happening, because I'll share my super duper fancy PowerPoint slide that I spent hours and hours putting together for you, okay? And you'll start to realize why it's really not that hard to be successful when it comes to real estate, as long as you've got a system. You see, success, it's not guesswork, it's really common sense. Most investors, though, they buy on emotion, okay? You shouldn't do that. That's a no-no. Focus on data and have a proven methodology so that you can achieve the results that you're looking for. Now, I'm going to share just 3 things that are driving the gains that we're enjoying here on the Gold Coast and Queensland. And over the next 5 years, I think we're going to be seeing some pretty amazing returns in this state. That being said, good things don't last forever. Look at Melbourne. In fact, Melbourne could be the next opportunity for people. But right now, let's focus on Gold Coast and Brisbane. But before I hook into that, quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I just share data and trends and case studies of what I've done and what many of my clients have achieved. Now, just understand, property markets go up and they go down and the bloody things sit sideways. In fact, an example of that is I bought 8 acres at the bottom of Mount Tambourine, a horse property. Now, I bought that for about $1.1 million around about 10 years ago, somewhere around there. And you know what? For like 4 or 5 years, the bloody thing didn't go anywhere. Sort of just sat around that price. That same property today, though, is worth around about $4 million. Somewhere between 3.5 and 4. Now, what would you say, okay, over 10 years, a 400% return on investment? That's not too shabby, okay? Because most people expect maybe to double it. But when you have a system and you select your property based on the criteria that I put into my consumer awareness guide, the Winning Edge Playbook, you can really start to increase your chances of seeing returns like that. But no guarantees, just common sense, no crystal balls, and I hope you're going to enjoy this. So let's talk about the first one, the Olympic effect. All right. Now, you may not be aware of it, but in Sydney, when the Olympics were on, we had massive growth 5 years before the Olympics started and around about 5 years after. How do I know? Well, because I owned property in Sydney. I had a very large air conditioning company. In fact, I actually air conditioned part of the aquatic centre in Sydney and some of the village there as well. So thank you, Mirvac, for trusting me with that responsibility. Now, that being said, I made a fortune on my properties in Sydney at that time. You saw prices around about, they say 53%, I reckon it was more, leading up to the Olympics, and 66% 3 years after the Olympics. That's a pretty big growth curve that you're talking about there. Now, imagine if that happens here in Brisbane as well. We're already starting to experience it. Now, the second reason is Queensland's a bloody amazing place to come to. Okay, I've lived in a lot of the states in Australia, but one of the smartest things I did, I left Perth probably 12 years ago. And now that I'm in Queensland, you'll be dragging me out of here in a box, I think. 446,000 net overseas migrants came to Australia last year, and Queensland's their top destination. Not only that, but you see, the government got smart. They don't just let anybody in. They've let high net worth individuals in and skilled tradespeople. Okay, so more people, more demand, higher prices. Okay, have a look at this fun chart. Now, this may have changed a little bit. I think it's 1 or 2 years old, but we are one of the top countries in the world where millionaires migrate to. I think this one, I can't see what year this was. I think it might be, 2023 this one was. But look here, 5,200 came to Australia. Look how many left China, 13,500 in a year. Look how many left India. So really, it's a giant battle between Australia, Singapore, and the UAE, all right, as to where millionaires are heading to. But bottom line, they've worked out Australia sort of doesn't have a lot of the dramas that the rest of the world has. And when you got beautiful oceans and beaches, you got tropical countryside as well, Australia's just really, really incredible. And we really are the lucky country. So they're all heading here. They've all found it. The secret's out, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it. And now the final one I'm going to share with you, and that is the cost of construction. Now, I do have a trade background, refrigeration mechanic, electrician, so I get it. And even I can't believe the cost of things these days. But the cost of materials has gone up 31%, I reckon more, since 2020, and 41% for house construction. So the cost of building is so massive, that's just going to flow on as we get closer and closer to the Olympics. Can you imagine, like, we're not even in full swing with the Olympics right now. What happens when they start ordering concrete for the stadiums? What happens when they need the tradies? Well, you're just going to see massive, massive scarcity of builders and tradesmen for construction. What happens then? Lack of supply, prices go up. Okay, again, I told you, common sense. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you don't ride the wave, there's a very good chance that you're going to miss out on the gains that we're enjoying right now. And again, I'm a bit embarrassed to even share what they are. And I can't make promises. Look, as I said earlier, prices go up, prices go down. But when you look at the Olympic effect, the migration, the rising cost of construction, when you put all those together and you find a prime location using and I'll put it together, these are the criteria I use when I select a property to invest in myself and what I use before I even start to think of recommending something for my clients. But you can go to Winning Edge, you get the Winning Edge Consumer Awareness Guide I put together. You get it at realestatewealth.au. If you do that, you're going to stack the odds in your favor, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go to realestatewealth.au, you can actually even book a time with me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I focus a lot on off-market apartments. So if you're not aware what they are, they're the apartments you don't see on realestate.com.au. You see, these are the ones where you can often get a property for 20, 30% below the end retail price. And again, that's how some of my clients in one of my off-market developments have made hundreds of thousands. My apartment that I bought was 1.4 million, I think it was. I need to have a look at my newsletter now. I think I paid 1.4 million for it. It's now nearly 1.7 million. Okay, I think it's 165 or something like that. Now, here's the other cool thing. I think I only put $17,000 down as a deposit bond on it. So you work out $17,000 down. If someone said, hey, dude, you give me $17,000, I'll give you $300,000 back. Would you take that deal? Well, I did, and I'm pretty happy. Again, Okay, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, so the project's got to be completed, and you got to, So I'm not doing the money dance just yet, but on paper, I've made a hell of a lot of money, and that's been very common, especially in this market. So I personally believe that we've got growth like this happening for the next couple of years, but we don't know how long it's going to continue. So if you want to participate in the amazing gains, research what I'm doing. I remember I'm not a financial planner. I can't give financial advice. But there's a lot of people out there right now that are doing the money dance because they see the potential growth and they're getting in. Instead of watching the game from the sidelines in the stadiums, they're actually on the field and playing the game. Maybe that could be a good idea for you as well. If you want to learn more about playing the game and see what off-market apartments there are that I believe have high potential, just book a call with me. We'll have a quick chat and see if I can possibly help you. All right. Till next time, bye for now.